Hi, I'm Ali Manson, VP of Government Relations and Advocacy at ZERO, and welcome to So You Want to Be an Advocate. I'm so glad you're here to learn more about how and why you can and should use your voice to improve the landscape for prostate cancer patients and their loved ones. I'm joined today by Molly Williams and Amy Goodrich, some of our partners at Pfizer, and they have some unique experience and expertise to share with you. If you're watching this on your computer, make sure you have your smartphone handy. It's an invaluable tool in the advocacy world of today. Molly, I'll hand it to you to kick off.
Thanks, Ali. I'm Molly Williams. I am the Alliance Development Director for Pfizer. I've been working in advocacy for over 15 years and have a government relations background. And the best part of my job is that I get to work with people like you. Being an advocate is something that it's not only important just for yourself, but it's important for all of us. Advocacy is something that you can do in the short term, you can do it in the long term, but the difference that you make is something that will last a lifetime. So as far as, what being an advocate means, it can mean a lot of different things. It can mean, working with your local legislators, your local congressman. It can mean working with a coalition. It can mean working on your own. But the idea is for you as an individual to take time to contact your representatives, your elected officials, to work with them to make sure that the policies that they're passing, if it's in the state capitol or if it's in Congress, are ones that are going to benefit you. You are their constituent. You've elected those people to represent you, both at the state level, the local level, the federal level. And it's our responsibility as voters, as Americans, to work with those people to ensure that they know what it is we want them to do. So as far as being a patient advocate, the real important piece there is that you have the voice to really explain to your elected officials what it is that you need to make sure that when you have access to treatment, you have access to care, that your health insurance is working, that the medicines that you need to take are available and affordable. There's a lot of different things you can do to make that voice be heard. But the most important thing is taking that first step. It's really being able to work with groups like ZERO that help you to give you the tools that you need to, one, understand what policy is, to understand how you can make a difference, to understand that there are people out there who want to hear from you. And that they care, they really do. So to be an advocate is wonderful in that you don't just do it by yourself. You do it together with a group of people who have like-minded interests. And it's a great way to really make change that's going to affect you and your community, your family. So, there's a lot to it, but it's not as complicated as you think. And one of the great things is that we've got a lot of tools now at our disposal that have changed kind of the way advocacy is done. And the pandemic has really amplified that. So, obviously all of us have been working in a virtual world. We're working in a virtual world right now. And the advantages of that are that you have much more access to your elected officials because of time that is made available through tools like this, through Zoom, but also through some of the tools that we use through social media. And my colleague, Amy Goodrich, is going to talk more about what kind of opportunities are available for you to use to make your advocacy voice heard. So I'm going to hand it off to you, Amy.
Thanks, Molly. I'm Amy Goodrich. I lead our activation team at Pfizer, which is a newer word, but it basically means that we work with patients, we work with physicians, we work with groups, we work with whoever wants to get their voice into the media to ensure that the elected officials that Molly just spoke about hear them. And so we have a lot of policy goals that we share with groups around patient access, ensuring that patients can access the medicine, they can afford the medicine. Insurance company policies are those that make it accessible. And then also trying to foster innovation for those new treatments and new cures that we're all waiting for. So how do we do this? And, Molly talked a lot about telling your story and making sure that your voice gets heard. But I think it's also important to think about how you, what is your story? So Ali, if you could go to the next slide there, or maybe I can. So think about what your story is. Oftentimes, you know, your patients, you know that you're a part of this community, but you may not know what it is you're here to talk about. So think about it. Has your insurance company said it would not pay for your medication, even though your doctor said that it would be covered? That's a story. Think about some of these questions that you can ask yourself, and there's a lot of other questions that you can ask yourself. Did your insurance company require you to take another medication first? We call that step therapy, but you know, a lot of people are forced through step therapy, but they don't know that that's a thing. They don't know that that's you know, a troubling policy that we're trying to work with patient groups to impact and to change those laws. Were you surprised at how much you had to pay for your medication, even though your insurance plan said the drug was covered? And does the cost of your medication change every month? These are all very common things that many people don't think happen. But when you're thinking about what your story can be and what you need to tell people, these are some questions that you can ask yourself first as you think about what, you know, what your story might be. We go next. So how do you do that? You know, it's in a lot of ways that, you know, we all hopefully still read the newspaper. I still get the newspaper delivered. A lot of us read it online. Opinion editorials, those are called op-eds, as you may have heard that term. Those are things in the back of the newspaper, next to where the newspaper runs their editorial. Their voices just like yours, of people telling their story, asking the questions, advocating for policy changes. And these are examples all over the country of things that happen, of other groups. Letters to the editor, those are smaller opinion editorials that also appear in the back of the newspaper. TV stories, those are shorter, right? They have a good opportunity to tell the story. And I think, again, as you're thinking about this, reporters are not gonna understand necessarily from the beginning. So think about, why is this gonna matter to them? What is it that's really bad? You've all seen news stories that talk about these problems and other issues. And if you think to yourself, this can have an impact, that's what you want to try and do. I used to be a reporter in Boston. And so if you take the time to explain it, then I guarantee you reporters are going to care. I call this the new grassroots tools, even though these aren't necessarily new anymore. They've taken on a sort of a new life during the pandemic, because everyone's home, everyone's in a virtual world. And so emails are more, advertisements on social media are more than ever before. And so digital advertising, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, those are the big ones for advocacy. You've also, if you're on Facebook, you've all seen these ads. They look just like a regular Facebook post, but if you click on it, it takes you to somewhere else, takes you to another website. If someone's trying to sell you something, it takes you to their website so you can buy something. But if it's an advocacy advertisement, just like the one here that says take action, then you can literally just click on that, sign a petition, and your email gets sent to your representative. That's how sort of advanced these things are. It's as easy as 2 clicks, and you can send an email to, they know who your representatives are, they know all of those things. So it's really easy. Grassroots emails, I'm sure you've seen these, I'm sure you've gotten them. Action alerts, when there's a bill that's before a legislative committee in a particular state, in Congress, you could get an action alert or an email asking you to lend your voice to say, please pass this bill, or please don't pass this bill. And then the last point I would make here is video is really the biggest form of advocacy now, the most impactful that I see. And down here is just an example. You can't play it, but there are so many of these of someone talking to you just like I am now, face to the camera, telling their story, making a simple plea to protect patient access to medical treatments, to protect innovation so that the cures of tomorrow can be seen. And those really are the most effective things. And then just to, if I need to convince you anymore why social media matters the most, these are just some pretty, I think, significant takeouts of how big social media is now. So 4.5 billion people use social media, and Facebook is more than half of that. So Facebook, YouTube, those are the two biggest. So again, that's why video is the key. So many people are on YouTube. That's where they get their information. Facebook, that's where they get their news in the morning. Half of people who use Facebook for social media networking also get their news there. Same thing for YouTube. I just think those are pretty significant statistics. If you're on these platforms, then you're looking for the information that people like you want to give. And that's it. These are all just tools that you can use to get your voice out. Ways that you may not have thought of before. They're all available now. There are all these tools, email, phone calls, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. Everything is at your disposal.
That's great, Amy. Thank you. Since you ended on social media, I actually want to ask you, I think, a very practical question that I suspect some of our advocates are thinking, or maybe I'm just the one thinking it. I only have 100 people following me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and 67 of those are related to me. Can I still use social media as a tool to get my story out or use my voice?
Yeah, for sure. There's certain tricks that you can use on social media to make sure that other people see it. So I think sometimes people refer to social media as kind of an echo chamber where you're just talking to the people that you know, and you're talking to your family and friends. But if you've heard of a hashtag, which I'm sure you probably have, that's a method on Twitter where you can reach a broader audience. So you put a hashtag at the end of whatever you're posting, and people who follow that hashtag can then see that post. Similarly on Facebook, I think that's probably the biggest one that is used for advocacy platform. You can it's called tagging people. So you can put someone else's name in your post who's an elected official, and then that shows up on their Facebook feed. So it's a trick that we use all the time. We encourage groups to use it. If you want to make sure that President Biden sees a post, then you can literally tag the president. He's probably not going to see it because I don't think he checks his Facebook account, but his staff will see it. So that's a large example, but it drills down to the very local level of any elected official.
So if someone's watching this today during the ZERO Summit, they perhaps could tag President Biden, invest in prostate cancer research, hashtag Summit 2022, hashtag prostate cancer.
Hashtag moonshot, absolutely. Yes.
Hashtag moonshot. There we go. That's one that'll pick up. Okay, that helps, right? I'm embarrassed to admit how poor my social media use it. So that helps. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah.
Molly, what is the best way for most people to get involved? Are they going to hear from you? Are they going to, I realize if someone realizes they have a story they want to share and there's something happening in their local state house, what should they do?
Well, I think that if they've already found you, they've done one of the best things they can do, is to find an organization that represents kind of the concerns and the issues that they have. And then once, those tools are there, but even if they're at the local level, so, ZERO is a national organization, you work across all 50 states. The other thing you can do is simply to just find out who your elected officials are. I mean, that's the first thing I would do, is to find out who represents you in the state, who represents you in Congress. Because to Amy's point, any message that you want to give to your elected official, they're there to listen to you. You elected them. They are representing you. So it's to have your national coalition, to have a state coalition, because I know that you have a lot of, I don't know if they're affiliates, but you work with a lot of different prostate groups that are in the state. So you can work with those groups too. There are other large national organizations that represent cancer that also have, different positions in the state. Google is a great tool to use. How do I get involved? And I think at the end of the day, it's also just, your social media can be your tool that you can use too. Like to Amy's point, when you see those ads, they're designed to try to find you. So it's another tool for you to get involved. It can be a little overwhelming. I think a lot of people are a little intimidated by going to, like, say that you have, they're not necessarily going to go pick up the phone and go meet with their state representative, on their own, but they may go to a lobby day. And during the pandemic, lobby days changed a lot. And a lobby day is simply a group of people coming to either the State House or going to Congress to collectively, and you guys probably have fly-ins where you bring in your members. Normally this would be in person. But now with virtual lobby days, you get so much more time with the actual representatives. I know that one of the things that changed a lot was when, some organizations have members all over the state, and they would come to, let's say I live outside of Albany, New York. So they come to Albany, and it would be a full-on day of meetings in the Capitol. And typically, you're not there alone. You're meeting with a lot of other groups who are trying to do the same thing. So you get very limited time with a representative or with your state senator. So you meet with staff, which is great. It's really important to meet with them too. But with the virtual issue, now we've gone to virtual, there's so much more time in a representative's schedule that you can actually really sit down and have a town hall meeting where you're there with that representative for for 20 minutes. Time that you would never have had before. So a long way of saying, there's a lot of ways to get involved. I highly recommend staying involved with ZERO and looking at state groups, but also, looking to your just general community and, calling your legislator, go try to meet with them, set up a virtual appointment. All of those things are going to work to get involved.
That's great. I think I have a short slide when we're done to show people exactly where to go and where to find it, because we want you to get involved. I'm paid. Everyone here is paid to do their jobs, right? Our stories are important. We're there to share information. It's useful, but nothing's as good as the story from someone who's lived it.
Yeah, I will say I just wanted to add one thing, Ali, telling your story and how Amy explained it. The one thing that I've noticed doing this for a long, long time is people don't necessarily think, they're like, well, I'm not the expert. You are the expert. You know more about what's going on in your life, obviously, than anybody else. You understand what the problem is with your insurance. You understand what the problem is with your copays. You understand that all of that is so important for your legislators to hear, because they may not actually be hearing from anyone else. So once they start hearing from you and your friends who are there with you, it resonates, because they need to understand exactly what's happening to you, because you're the expert. So don't think that they know more than you. They don't. You are the expert.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just add to that. Sorry. These folks, they hear 1,000 different issues, right? So, a town hall event, an advocacy day, hearing from ZERO is great. And they probably have 3 others with other groups that day. So they hear a whole lot of things. So that's why individual stories can resonate more. And that's also why it's important to kind of level up into the media, because those are the things that stick out in their minds. If they meet with you and then they also see a similar story on the news or on their Facebook feed or in their Twitter, or their staff is saying, we got 100 tweets on this today. What is this bill? That's an important thing. Those things, they pay attention to those things. They monitor social media, they monitor the news. They get clips of all the letters to the editor that have their name in them every morning. So they do pay attention.
Those numbers run together, right? 53%, 64%, 2.2 times more. All of that runs together. Your story doesn't. right? That story is unique and it's yours. So the big elephant in the room, of course, is the fact that we've been living in a pandemic. It's changed lobby days. It's changed state house lobby days. It's changed so much of what we do. Are you guys making any predictions on how it's going to change the role of social media, the role of in-person and virtual meetings? I mean, we've seen some of it, but what do you think is going to stay? Are we going to go back to normal one day, or back to, let me say, before normal?
I think there'll be some normal. I think that for the advocates, there is something really important about going in your representative government and going to your state capital and meeting with folks. I mean, the legislators are going back in person. They are starting in, a lot of states already have been in their full-time legislatures are meeting. Now, ones that have been a little more hesitant of that are starting to come back in person. So you will have the opportunity to do that. I think the thing that changes, though, is that the convenience factor, this ability to see your legislator. If you live in, like, say, a large state like New York, you live in Buffalo, you need to be able to see a number of legislators. You don't have to travel 8 hours to Albany to come and see a legislator. You can meet with them, in a Zoom format, or hear from them in this kind of format. I don't think that's going to go away. I think folks have found that that's really important, and it's an easier way to hear from, your representatives. So, Amy, I don't know.
I would agree. I think it'll be a sort of a hybrid, if you will, of in-person and virtual. And I do think that I don't think social media is going to go anywhere. I think it's just, with each year, there's new tools being added. There's new ways to do it. As I was preparing for this, the number 3 social media platform, which I don't even use, is called WhatsApp. And you can advertise on there. You can do all sorts of things. I can't tell you anything about it because I don't know. I don't use it. I also don't use TikTok, but I know that's super easy as well and monitored. So I don't think it's going away. It's just going to get more of a part of ways to communicate.
We'll have to watch even more channels.
Exactly. Yep.
I think I keep referring to this transition to having more virtual meetings as small d democratic, especially in the cancer community. There are lots of patients who, it's not just that they live far away or that the times aren't convenient. It may not be safe or practical for them to travel to Washington, D.C. or to their state house. We had a beloved advocate last year do his Hill meetings from his infusion chair in the infusion center. And it was not only tremendously impactful, but it meant that he didn't have to rearrange his treatment schedule to participate in the advocacy day. I mean, that's amazing, right? If you're immunocompromised, if you are, maybe it's just a financial barrier, right? This allows us to bring in advocates to have more people with more experiences and more different experiences tell their stories. So I do encourage folks to stay involved, right? It's not, yes, someday we're going to go back in person and it's going to be great, but we're going to do this too. And it's just more bites at the apple. So I think it's fun. I think it's great. Well, do you guys have any kind of final passing thoughts here before I give a couple of ways that folks can get involved specifically in prostate cancer advocacy with ZERO?
I would just say thank you. I mean, this is the 3rd time that I've been invited to do this, and I just really appreciate it. It's your community is fantastic. To see ZERO's kind of growth over the last 3 years and even before that is wonderful. And I think that your advocacy voice is incredibly important. I think that what you were saying about just now about your advocate being able to do his meetings from his infusion chair, not only is it incredibly effective, but it must have felt very helpful to him to be able to have his voice out there. So I hope that people find this is also helpful in their journey to be able to be out there advocating for something, doing something, because that's really what this is about. And it's doing something for yourself. So again, thank you so much. I appreciate being able to be here today.
And I would just add as well, thank you. And I think it's encouraging that, we're all looking for ways to be more impactful. I think that Sending emails, making phone calls, meeting with your legislators is very important. And a lot of people that we work with don't think that they have a special story. They don't think they have a story at all. They say, yes, I do my treatment, I get my medicine, I do this, I care for my family members, but there's always a story in there. So don't sell yourself short. I think that your voices are the most impactful that are out there. My voice doesn't necessarily make a difference, but yours will.
Thank you. Thank you both. I hope it's an empowering activity for people to take the choice they didn't choose, right? No one chose prostate cancer. No one wanted to take this journey. But if you can turn that into something good, or at least a little bit good, we'll take it. So I'm going to share quickly here a couple of ways that if you want to get involved at ZERO, you can. You can use your voice. You can have that empowering experience. And so we've got a lot of ways. You get to contribute to access to care. You get to contribute to the development of new treatments, innovations. You get to help reduce health disparities. And the first thing you can do is you're here at the ZERO Summit. During the summit each year, we send advocates either in person or virtually, like this year, to meetings with their elected representatives or, as Molly pointed out, their staffs. Right? Staffs are really important. Let's just all remember we love congressional staff. They're great. And some of you might be attending those meetings this year. But if you're not, please plan to join us next year. It's the biggest prostate cancer advocacy event in the country, and we use it to move forward investment in research in the prostate cancer research program. And that is the most successful federal investment in prostate cancer research so far. We also support investment in prostate cancer outreach and education at the CDC. We've got a bill that would eliminate cost sharing for prostate cancer screening that improves access, especially for those at high risk, and a bill that ensures that we're better coordinating prostate cancer research across federal agencies, right? So that means efficient use of dollars and a priority on gaps in current knowledge, right? Making sure we're investing research in what we don't know. So if you aren't attending those meetings tomorrow or on Tuesday, March 8th, depending on when you're watching, get out your phone right now, right? Pick up your phone, it's right here. Text SUMMIT, SUMMIT 22 to 52886. It'll send you a direct link to the Summit Action Center. It's going to look like what you see on your screen right now. And from there, you can easily send emails to your members of Congress in support of those same asks. It'll take you less time than it's going to take me to finish talking about your opportunities here. I'll wait a moment. Just click right away. All right, and the summit happens once a year, but we do this year round. We've started to have some mini virtual summits, some mini virtual fly-ins, if you will, to focus on specific bills, to have a more limited number of meetings on a specific issue with specific groups. And we're constantly looking for new ways to give our advocates opportunities to use their voices. So if you click through any of the links on that action alert that you just received on your cell phone, click all the way through and it will automatically sign you up to receive new opportunities. You can also reach out to us at advocacy@zerocancer.org. We'll answer your questions, talk about other ways to get involved. Because we aren't only active at the federal level. We've already had a couple of opportunities this year alone in 2022 for prostate cancer advocates to testify in state houses in support of legislation. We've asked folks to send emails, to make phone calls, to send letters to the editor. We need to do a better job on social media. We're going to learn from Amy today. And right now, most of those are virtual opportunities, but it won't always be true, right? As we've all said, virtual is here to stay. It's a new tool in our toolbox and to be more impactful, but we're going to do a little bit of both as we go forward. And the most important thing to remember here is you, right? You are the storyteller. You have a unique story. You have a unique experience. You're the only expert in your life, right? In your lived experience. And so we can use that story, or you can use that story in support of a larger good, right? We can use policy to make the world better for people with prostate cancer and for the people that love them or that they love, right? We can increase access to diagnosis, to screening, and to care. We can increase the number and variety of treatments available, and we can attack the root causes of inequities in prostate cancer. These are small steps toward a world without prostate cancer, and I really, really hope you'll join us in it. So again, if you have questions about how to get involved, email us at advocacy@zerocancer.org. It's right there at the top of your screen. and visit zerocancer.org/advocacy. You'll find all the background information, all the tools you need, but you can always send us an email. We'll get back to you quickly and try to find you a new way to tell your story. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the summit.